Action! I don't have my slate, so I just did the fake one. Anyway, hi. Beth had a nice question about coffee cessation, and I've done a video on switching from coffee to tea in the past. By the way, the reason this is so dark is I want you to see this thing. This is an arch at Arches National Park. And we'll just do that. You don't need to see my face. But with regards to switching off coffee or quitting coffee, Beth, you're going to have a couple days of headache, fatigue, irritability. That's all from the cessation of coffee. The brain gets used to the flavor of coffee. The brain gets used to the bitterness of it. The brain gets used to the stimulant of the caffeine effect. So when you stop it, you're gonna want it. So switching off onto tea might ease the craving or the detox, if you want to call it, the Herxheimer reaction, so it's more tolerable. But then you haven't switched off of caffeine. You're just switching from one caffeine source to a lower caffeine source. So the way caffeine goes is you have caffeine pills at the highest, then you have coffee, and there's different flavors and types of coffee bean that have higher levels of caffeine and lower levels of caffeine. Then you have decaf coffee, which still has caffeine in it. Then you have tea, and the teas are divided into black, green, white, and then the herbals, and then the mixes. And then you have the energy drinks. So that's the decreasing order of amount of caffeine. We as a society are not well slept, so we usually need stimulation. For example, I don't drink coffee anymore. This is tea, and I did try coffee from Panera Bread for about 3 weeks, and I felt, wow, this is great, because I was lacking sleep. Gave me an energy boost in the morning. But then eventually I almost vomited in the middle of the night because my reflux came back. And yes, those of you who take medicines for reflux, even if you don't have reflux, the fact that you're taking the medicine means that you need to stop the coffee. Truthfully, if you've seen my video on GERD, you need to stop coffee, tobacco, tomato, chocolate, peppermint, spicy foods, large meals at the end of the night. But coffee is the most common offending agent for people with GERD, but I'm not going to talk about that. Just, there are benefits to coffee, and studies have shown it does help as an antioxidant, but I think those studies were probably funded by the coffee industry. Bottom line is that because we're so underslept and under-rested, we depend on caffeine. I'd rather have you just take pure caffeine so that you don't have the issues with the coffee bean. But again, you'll still have reflux. So try to switch off, try to get better sleep, try to deal with the 2 to 3 days of headache with Tylenol 3 times a day, maybe a little magnesium. There are some herbs that you can do to quench the severity of withdrawal, also to help you at night. So try to switch off gently. Try to have a day, or try to do it over the weekend, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It won't be as irritable. You won't have to problem solve at work. Won't have to converse too much. And you can do other things like getting outside to nature, and that'll help you a little bit with that reset and getting off the caffeine and the coffee bean. So that's what I would suggest. I still think it's a matter of doing things in moderation. So if you do like coffee, as long as you don't have a reflux issue, I guess that's okay. 1 cup a day is fine. If you like tea, there's actually David's Tea has a blend of tea leaf that's very high in caffeine and supposed to be the equivalent taste of coffee bean. You might want to check them out. I go to the Aurora one. I didn't like the flavor. I'm more of a green tea EG/CG kind of guy, but watch my video on tea as well. So a good question, Beth. Hopefully you haven't crashed and desired it too much, but maybe soon you'll be able to, those of you who do try getting off caffeine, hopefully the next step would be to get off the the reflux medicine. But that'll take some doing. You watch my video on GERD. So subscribe to me for other questions, or send other questions, and stay healthy.